El FC Barcelona recibe una noticia devastadora. Dani Olmo se ha lesionado durante su concentración con la selección española, dejando al club en una situación complicada justo antes del Clásico contra el Real Madrid. El mediocampista catalán sufrió una lesión muscular en la pierna izquierda, según confirmaron los servicios médicos del club azulgrana. Aunque la lesión no parece grave, los tiempos de recuperación no juegan a su favor. Los médicos del Barça han evitado dar un plazo exacto de recuperación, pero fuentes internas aseguran que podría estar fuera de los terrenos de juego entre 2 y 3 semanas. Eso dejaría a Olmo sin opciones de disputar el Clásico del 26 de octubre. La noticia ha generado preocupación en el cuerpo técnico de Xavi Hernández, que ya lidia con una lista de lesionados extensa. Sin Olmo, el equipo pierde creatividad, visión y desequilibrio en el último tercio de campo. Olmo regresó a Barcelona inmediatamente después de sentir molestias en el entrenamiento con la selección. El jugador sabía que algo no iba bien y pidió ser reemplazado antes de agravar la lesión. Fuentes cercanas al jugador aseguran que está frustrado, ya que esperaba usar el Clásico como una oportunidad para consolidarse como pieza clave del proyecto de Xavi. Pero el destino, una vez más, le juega una mala pasada. El periodista Javi Miguel, del diario AS, informó que la posibilidad de ver a Olmo en el Clásico es prácticamente imposible. La recuperación, aunque positiva, no será lo suficientemente rápida para un partido de tal exigencia. El calendario tampoco ayuda. En los próximos días, el Barça enfrentará a Girona, Olympiacos y finalmente al Real Madrid. Sin Olmo, Xavi deberá buscar alternativas inmediatas para mantener el equilibrio ofensivo del equipo. En los entrenamientos, se ha visto a Ferran Torres y Lamine Yamal probando nuevas posiciones. El técnico intenta ajustar las piezas para cubrir la ausencia de un jugador que aportaba inteligencia táctica y serenidad con el balón. Olmo ha sido titular en los últimos encuentros debido a la lesión de Fermín López. Sin embargo, su rendimiento ha sido irregular, con solo un gol y 2 asistencias en 10 partidos disputados esta temporada. A pesar de las críticas, el entorno del jugador insiste en que Dani necesita continuidad para recuperar su mejor versión. Su talento no se discute, lo que falta es constancia física y mental después de varias lesiones consecutivas. En el vestuario, los compañeros han mostrado su apoyo. Olmo es un luchador, volverá más fuerte, comentó Robert Lewandowski ante la prensa. La plantilla sabe lo importante que es mantener la moral alta antes del duelo contra el eterno rival. El Clásico sin Dani Olmo cambia por completo el enfoque táctico de Xavi. Sin su visión entre líneas, el entrenador podría apostar por un esquema más vertical, confiando en la velocidad de Rafinha y el desborde de Yamal. La lesión de Olmo llega en el peor momento posible. No solo afecta al Barça, sino también a la selección española, que veía en él una pieza clave para los próximos compromisos internacionales. El propio Olmo expresó su tristeza en redes sociales con un mensaje corto pero emotivo: "No hay nada más doloroso que ver a tus compañeros desde fuera. Volveré pronto, más fuerte que nunca". Mientras tanto, los médicos del Barça trabajan sin descanso. El objetivo es evitar recaídas y garantizar que el jugador regrese solo cuando esté al 100%, incluso si eso significa perderse el partido más importante del año. Xavi Hernández ha sido claro: no vamos a forzar a nadie. Dani es un jugador vital, pero lo primero es su salud. Un mensaje que refuerza la filosofía del club en la gestión responsable de sus estrellas. En los medios españoles, el debate se ha encendido. Algunos opinan que el Barça sufre un exceso de carga física, mientras que otros culpan al calendario internacional por no dar descanso suficiente a los futbolistas. Los analistas deportivos coinciden en algo: si el Barça logra superar al Real Madrid sin Olmo, enviará un mensaje de fortaleza al resto de Europa. Será la prueba definitiva de la profundidad de su plantilla. El Clásico se acerca, la tensión crece y el misterio sobre el regreso de Dani Olmo mantiene a los culés en vilo. ¿Podrá el Barça sobrevivir sin su cerebro creativo en el mediocampo? mereció en redes el apoyo de los fans, prometiendo volver más fuerte que nunca. Xavi prueba alternativas sin Olmo, usando a Lamine Yamal en una posición más central. Yamal muestra madurez, pero le falta experiencia para un partido como el Clásico. Ferran Torres, en mejora, podría ser el reemplazo como interior ofensivo. La pérdida de Olmo es un golpe para Xavi, por su equilibrio y liderazgo en el vestuario.
Por favor, dale a me gusta y suscríbete al canal.
Xavi destacó: Olmo entiende perfectamente el juego del Barça. Sin Olmo, el Barça dependerá más de la creatividad de Xavi y la velocidad por las bandas. La afición culé apoya a Olmo con pancartas en el entrenamiento abierto del fin de semana. Fuerza Olmo se volvió tendencia en redes, mostrando el cariño de los seguidores culés. En Madrid, la ausencia de Olmo es un alivio, ya que siempre complica al Real Madrid. En el último Clásico, Olmo fue clave en la circulación y presión alta del Barça. Sin él, el Barça podría perder fluidez y depender de Lewandowski o Rafinha. Un error táctico ante el Real Madrid podría ser costoso en este momento delicado.
Episode 606 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Daniel Olmo, and today we are talking all about Barcelona's one big signing so far this season. We with Dani Olmo. And to help me talk all things Dani Olmo is Justin from RBL Talk and RB Leipzig podcast. So just like I did last season with Ilkay Gundogan, and I brought in the experts from the previous teams. I'm doing the same thing again. So Justin, thank you so much for helping. I'd say there's nothing between Barcelona and RB Leipzig, I don't think, at any point. So it's not really enemy lines like I've had with some of the other people. But thanks for coming over, at least over the podcast lines, and helping with Dani Olmo.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk money first. I know that the most boring part is where in the algorithms everything drops off, as you know. So, of course, I assume to start with that stuff. We're going to talk money. 26-year-old Dani Olmo, 10 years after leaving Barcelona for doing what I'd rather have, 16-year-old, returned to his native Catalonia on a 6-year deal for $55 million plus $7 million add-on, which is right around what Leipzig wanted with his €60 million release clause. So when you heard that number, that it was a $55 million plus 7, did you think that was a fair value for him, or did you feel like RB Leipzig might have gotten better than that?
I think it was a fair evaluation for today's market, including the availability of that he's been quite injury prone throughout his career at RB Leipzig. He's only played around about under, say, 40% or something like that of games available. So, but the way I look at it is that he's one of those players where, off his own foot, can do something magical. He's called El Mago for a reason, and I think 55 million is a quite respectable price for someone of his caliber, even at the time of not being able to play so much football.
Yeah, we're going to get to the injuries, we're going to get to production later on, but I first want to start with even location, because yesterday I was trying to fill out, and this is less than 24 hours ago I recorded, the depth chart and trying to figure out where Dani almost fits in there. Very versatile player, of course, and we've seen him now over the years play all over what the front four in a 4-2-3-1. Mainly, though, it's an attacking midfield, so mainly as the one in that 4-2-3-1, but more than 80 appearances on the wing, and also the occasional appearance as center forward or in the midfield. And he even said in the few comments he gave to the media during his initial presentation that he's comfortable playing on the wing, that left wing, right wing, doesn't matter wherever the man leads him. But it's really rare that he's in the center forward midfield slot, but he's an attacking midfielder. Do you see him fitting in at Barcelona in a specific position, or do you think there might be concerns about him as an inverted left winger, or is there a position where you say if Dani Olmo plays here, succeeds for Barcelona, and he's mainly playing another position?
I think he's adaptable enough that he'll be able to succeed in any position that you give him. Obviously, he's not going to be a centre back or something like that. But if you put him at an attacking midfielder, even as a number 10, as they say, or either side, left or right, I believe they can be able to adapt for Barcelona, especially being at home. Like he's going to be feeling a lot more happier in himself, and hopefully his football will come along with that. And I think he'll do absolutely fine.
Well, talking about his position is one thing, but when talking then about the injuries, so let's get into some negative stuff here. His medical did take a little longer than normal medicals do take after his knee and shoulder had to be looked at. Injuries are definitely the main concern I've heard from Kool-Aid and those who might only know him in passing glances. He missed 27 matches last season. Would you say, A, this is a multi-part question, but A, is his injury history a concern to you? And B, though, is he even an injury-prone player? Because again, for Barcelona, Pedri and Valderrama are injury-prone players. You know they're going to miss muscle injuries, or Ousmane Dembélé was for a long time. Now he's erratic with PSG, incredibly. But there are injury-ridden players who are injury-prone. You know they're going to miss time. And then there's players like Gavi had the ACL injury, or Koundé's had one injury or two injuries in his whole career. And, players just deal with one thing and then they recover. So would you say he's an injury-prone player, or is he somebody that you're not too concerned with his future once everything is kind of wrapped up?
Yeah, so going into that part A, I don't think that the injuries are too much of a worry. I mean, it's something to look at and think, okay, we're taking a risk here, obviously from both sides, from our perspective when we had him and also when you brought him just recently. And then I don't think he's injury prone just yet, but that could change. So I think he's just been really unlucky with how he's been managed as well, been put on the pitch. And for instance, Marco Rosa played Xavi Schlager last season, and he was like not very well, and he now been torn an ACL, so and he's out, missed the complete Euros. So player management hasn't always been the best thing over at RB Leipzig sometimes. So I think if he starts to get injuries and very small ones quite constantly, then yes, we can say he's an injury-prone player. But as of this time, it's very hard to say. I think he's just been very unlucky with the amount of injuries he's had.
Yeah, so I guess to follow up a bit about that, his injuries, have they been small little one-offs as you mentioned, or have he had some reoccurring things pop up?
I think mainly the knee was probably the most common thing, but it was never the same knee as far as I'm aware of. So he's had like an injury and then it's like, oh, he's got another knee injury, or it's the same thing. We came back and we did his shoulder just recently, as the most recent injury I believe. We all thought that this is not really bad, because we thought it was like the same knee or ankle or his previous injury was. And thankfully it wasn't that, because he felt pretty hard, and yeah, everyone at RB Leipzig was thinking, well, what's happening?
Well, let's talk about him more as a player. So we're assuming, the money we're done with, the injuries, he's on the field. So he was the top scorer at the Euros, albeit that was with 3 goals in 6 matches, so not really a huge number, but enough to win the Golden Boot. And when I say 6 matches, Spain obviously played 7, but he never got off the bench against Italy. And what kind of goals should Barca fans expect out of him? He did score 8 last year, 5 the year before, 4 the year before that, and 7 the year before that in his first year with RB Leipzig. And then his assists have always been somewhere between 5 and 12 about every season. So as much as Kool-Aids might argue about Rafinha and get frustrated with Rafinha's production, Dani Olmo has never even hit 20 total goal contributions, meaning goals and assists, in a season. So if I would say, just like with Rafinha, if we're to expect that player, players can change in what they do, but as far as goal contributions, we don't really see huge jumps year to year when players already in their 20s. So he's not really contributing many counting stats, but we know he's a really important player. I'm being facetious here, but what does Dani Olmo do?
So Dani Olmo is one of those people that, by the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like he does a lot on the stat sheet, although from my memory, he's always produced when he's been on the pitch. So he's going to be able to give you goals, he's going to be able to give you assists, he's going to be also take the attention from defenders and also other midfielders in the opposition, so you're going to be able to free up space in areas, and he's able to work in small tight corners, positions, whatever you would like to rephrase that, and he's able to still make that final pass. So even if he doesn't make the actual assist, he could also pass it to the person that may just do the assist as well. So I expect his numbers to go straight up, to be honest, at Barcelona, because I see Barcelona as a bigger and better club with better, and this isn't me just trying to, brown nose you or anything like that. It's actually, I find Barcelona one of the best clubs in world football, with the best, well not the best, but better attackers and better players at their disposal than at other clubs.
Well, in terms of Dani Olmo and how he competes with Barcelona and style, right? Because I think the club obviously is not going to turn it and all that stuff. But as far as the way that RB Leipzig, I have to be honest, I only saw RB Leipzig maybe 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times last season. So as far as how heavy the press is, or, can you just explain what system RB Leipzig runs that and where he fit in that, again, in terms of even the defensive pressures and things like that and verticality, as opposed to, fitting into what Barcelona might want to do under Flick, which I think we're still kind of figuring out what that looks like as well, because it is also a change of formation from Xavi's 4-3-3 to 4-3-1.
I think if Hansi Flick does the same thing as what he did at Bayern Munich, we do very similar pressing style. It's Gurgen pressing, I believe, is how to pronounce it correctly. And so every single player has to press the ball and retain ball possession as soon as the ball is being lost possession of. So Dani Olmo is a hard worker. He will be able to get the ball back, and he'll also be able to flick passes, do things with the ball that other players cannot do. So I do believe that if Flick is bringing in the form that we saw him win multiple trophies with at Bayern Munich, then he should be able to fit in that quite comfortably because he's used to working hard all over the pitch. He's not just going to stand there and do nothing and just stay at the front and just try to be on the offside or offside trap or whatever you like to call it there, like right on the line there. He doesn't play on the shoulder there. He plays all over that front, including tracking back into his defence as well. So I think he should be okay.
Well, if Hansi Flick does what we've seen in preseason, defending for attacking one defending on any block. If Hansi Flick could go with that and really on that position, because again, I think we're in heading, mostly in the middle, we were all Euros, we'll get to it in a minute, but at the Euros, Dani Olmo coming in for that, like that, right? And so it's like for like in that way, but it is possible that Dani Olmo is third on that number 10, where his best natural attacking position is. He's third on the depth chart there. So he might have to play quite a bit of inverted winger because as things stand, and I know RB Leipzig today signed the young, the Belgian, Antonio Nusa, right? I believe that deal was done.
I believe he's from the Belgian league, but I think he's actually Norwegian.
Oh, right. Yes, yeah. Norwegian winger from the Belgian league. Yeah. So I did do a little YouTube short on him because he was linked with Barcelona for a hot minute there as a potential candidate back for Nico Williams. That deal doesn't work out and all that stuff. But so that player, that being Nusa, will come in for a wing spot. But if Dani Olmo is needed to defend and asked to defend as that inverted left winger in a 4-4-2, we saw him again defending and playing mainly as that attacking midfielder up high in that press. So do you trust him to have to go all the way back to his own, basically all the way back to his own goal if there's an overlap on the wings? Are you going to trust him in those kind of positions to defend like that? Is that the kind of, when we say hard worker, is that the kind of hard worker we're talking about? Or are we talking about, trying to push forward as the tip of that press where you'd expect one, in a 4-4-2, you'd expect one of your front two to cut off the angle?
Well, it's going to be interesting considering he hasn't had to do much at RB Leipzig. However, he shouldn't be too unaccustomed to it for the simple fact that he's playing as a central attacking midfielder and then he plays wide as well anyway. So we don't play traditional wingers, so to speak. Like we don't play your left winger, we don't play your right winger. So he's more central and then he drifts wide. So instead of just starting more central, he should just be playing more wide and then it should just be natural back to that. So I don't see him doing anything too bad in a sense of costing goals or being lazy or anything like that in defence out wide. It's going to be a little bit of an adjustment considering he's played like 95% of his career in a more central role. However, he may just be starting out wide and then drifting central, so down at Barcelona.
Well, how much faith would you have in him to, again, I think the idea of the propaganda of the Masia Ray is that he's quick, one touch, really good technical ability, and of course he does have that, but would you say that he is somebody that is a very high level, top level technical player in the world of football, or is he kind of that second tier where, like, the example would be Frank de Jong. Frank de Jong takes that extra moment on the ball and it's so great to bring it. But with Dani Olmo, would you say that he is a stereotypically dogmatic, Barcelona player when it comes to technical speed passes?
Yes, I would. He should be perfectly fine. He should be able to do your one-touch passes. He sees the game mentally before most players do, so that's also what makes him such a unique and great player. So I believe that you shouldn't be taking any extra touches or anything like that. I think the main thing at Barcelona will be just adjusting to a new position. Like you said, if he's going to be down the pecking order and not being able to play in his preferred position for the most time, if he really wants those minutes, where at RB Leipzig, he's almost guaranteed them considering of the quality of he is compared to the rest of the squad, where at Barcelona he's going to be needing to fight for those minutes in front of other people if he wants that preferred position, so he's going to probably be left out wide to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I think it says more about Ilkay Gundogan having to be what he's going to set up under Hansi Flick more than it is about, I think, Dani Olmo not fitting or having to see somewhere else. It is kind of vague. Dani Olmo can play the left wing and can play in the middle, and has to play in the middle, and rather have to stay in the middle. I think that's what we saw in Xavi last year.